Everyone together. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Okay, all the ladies, all the ladies. Gentlemen, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Again, the ladies. Gentlemen, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Ladies. Oh, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Clap your hands, clap your hands, clap your hands. Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All blessed Shri Prabhupada. Welcome devotees to our morning Bhagavatam class. I know we could go on with the kirtan, but I have to respect Candramauli Swami's time here because Marge is here to give a wonderful class. And we are going to be discussing from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 16, verse 7. And the chapter is entitled How Marge Parikshit Received the Age of Kali. We are very happy to have His Holiness Candramauli Swami here with us. Hare Krishna Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to you and Shri Prabhupada.
Was that Gauravani?
Yes, Maharaj.
Yeah, it was Gauravani. You can blow the crowd away. With it.
Yes, Maharaj. He can really blow it up.
I was just with him.
Oh, nice. Oh, in Osada Sangha. Nice, nice.
Where was that? That must have been Bangladesh Mellows, right?
Well, I don't know much because it says 10-hour kirtan. So I did not catch the location, but I did see that it says 10-hour kirtan. So I don't know where that was. I missed the location. I just caught the hours they had it for.
Could have went on for 10 hours.
Yes.
Okay. Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam, Amalam Paranam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Rudrayusam Nirnam Anga. Martyanam Rita Ichitam. Ihopahuto Bhagavan Mrityursam Mitra. Karmani. O Sutta Goswami. There are those among men who desire freedom from death and get eternal life. They escape the slaughtering process by calling the controller of death Yamaraj. Purport: a living entity, as he develops from lower animal life to a higher human life and gradually to higher intelligence, becomes anxious to get free from the clutches of death. Modern scientists try to avoid death by physiochemical advancement of knowledge. But alas, the controller of death, Yamaraj, is so cruel that he does not even spare even the very life of the scientist himself. The scientist who puts forward a theory of stopping death by advancement of scientific knowledge becomes himself a victim of death when he is called by Yamaraj. What to speak of stopping death, no one can enhance the short period of life, even by a fraction of a moment. The only hope of suspending the cruel slaughtering process of Yamaraj is to call him to hear and chant the holy name of the Lord. Yamaraj is a great devotee of the Lord, and he likes to be invited to kirtans and sacrifices by the pure devotees who are constantly engaged in the beneficent service of the Lord. Thus, the great sages headed by Shonika and others invited Yamaraj to attend the sacrifice performed at Naimisharanya. This was good for those who did not want to die. Magyan Timidandasya Giranjana Savakaya. Chaksun Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Ma Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale. Vimakti Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi. Gauravani Pracharine Nervasene Sastunyavadi. Pasyatya De Satarine. Panchakopa Turu Vischakripa Sindhu. Eva Chapatitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaho Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare. So, no one wants, everyone is forced to end their existence in the present body, and that is called death. And there have been attempts by so many persons trying to somewhat circumvent the process of death, but they can't do it. The material body is subject to the time element. As it's mentioned here, one cannot even extend their life even for a fraction of a moment. Of course, unless they become a devotee of the Lord, and they are no longer under the cruel clutches of death, but are under the care of the Supreme Lord personally. And he can extend one's life, he can shorten one's life, and he can bring one to pure spiritual consciousness, which is above all of the inebriaties of the material world. Here it says the only hope of suspending the cruel slaughtering process to call him to hear and chant the holy name of the Lord. The Yamaraj likes kirtan. It's actually mentioned in a few places. He actually likes to attend the kirtans. of the Lord. And so when he's in kirtan, he doesn't think about doing his service of bringing people to, what we call it, Yamaloka, or Pitriyaloka. That's actually the place, Pitriyaloka, the place of Yamaraj for people who are sinful, who do not worship the Lord, who do not perform any pious activities, who simply live in this world to satisfy their senses. They come under his role. And therefore, they have to pay for their reactions. Every material activity has an equal and opposite reaction. These are the laws of nature. These are the laws of God. But devotees, they're free from death. One of the elements says a devotee is fearless, even in the face of death, because they know that when I die, then when I leave this body, I'll go to a better situation in life. I'll be elevated, maybe to higher planets, or maybe even I'll attain liberation where Krishna performs his pastimes somewhere in the material world. Or I might even go back home, back to Godhead. Of course, that's the desire of all devotees, to achieve perfection and go back to Godhead. But death for the devotee is a door to eternal life. So devotees welcome Yamaraj because he is the friend of the devotees, as it says here, when you invite him to the kirtan. He likes to be invited to kirtan and sacrifices by the pure devotees who are constantly engaged in devotional service. When his assistants, the Yamadutas, tried to take away Ajamil and were thwarted by the Vishnu Dutas, they were mortified. They couldn't believe that we are working under the Supreme Personality, Yamaraj, and his law is absolute, and we're simply carrying out his law. But now we are stopped. And of course, they were defeated by the Vishnu Dutas. And after they returned to Yamaraj, and they wanted to know what happened. You're the supreme, and what happened? You didn't protect us in doing our service. We're simply acting on your behalf, and they wanted answers. Yamaraj tried to explain that the devotees of the Lord is not under the influence of myself. But the Yamadutas was thinking, is there someone higher than you? You are the supreme rule within the existence. And then Yamaraj had to explain to them, actually. Although Yamaraj is very powerful, sometimes he's called the second superstar. There are three personalities who know the hearts of all of them. One is Krishna in the heart, superstar. The other one is Lord Shiva. And the other one is Yamaraj, three. Know all of the activities of the nation. So both pious and impious, or mixed pious and impious. So these three are very powerful, and Yamaraj is given special privilege. And that privilege is that he has to do his service. So anyone in the material world, they don't understand this is the foolishness of the living entity. They think they can do whatever they want, and if they can avoid the suffering that comes by way of the activities in the material world, they're free. But even if they avoid the suffering, still that activity has an accountability. And then they have to, after they leave the body, they're forced to get the reactions. And going to the lower planets, and then they have to get the results and suffer tremendously, and then be again thrown into another body, sometimes in a species that is lower than human beings. So material life is a situation of punishment, either during or after. There's no happiness, there's no satisfaction, there's no peace in material life, because it's all about running away or trying to oppose the Supreme Lord by trying to be like him. And therefore, the Lord arranges, all right, you want to be like me? There's only one place for you to be, you can't stay here in this spiritual world. You have to go and play out this dramatic performance of being like me in another place. But I give you a body, and it's temporary, because that way you'll understand after some time you cannot be like me. Therefore, you'll have to give it up and come back to me. So Krishna arranges everything. But a devotee has no fear of death. And it says that devotee he remembers two things and he forgets two things. Two things a devotee should forget and two things a devotee should remember. One, he should always forget all of the good things that he has done for others. He should forget all the bad things that people have done to him. That way we become free from anger, from pride, from envy, and we develop a sense of forgiveness and peacefulness. And we should always remember two things. We should always remember the holy name, and we should always remember that death is always there and can appear at any time. But the devotee is not fearful of that, but they make that remembrance of death a feature of their practice in devotional service, because they want to use every bit of time that there is available to become perfect in their spiritual life. Devotee's desire to live means the devotee wants to use whatever time is left to reach perfection. And therefore, devotee uses every minute in Krishna consciousness, knowing that this world is what it is. It's temporary. But for the non-devotees, they fear this element of death. In fact, it's not a subject that you talk about amongst the non-devotees. They always want to change the subject or criticize you for being a pessimist or someone who is a fatalist. Therefore, it says that if a non-devotee wants to become enthusiastic in their process of achieving their goals and desires in life, they have to forget about that. Because if they remember death, they can't become enthusiastic for what they're trying to achieve. And if for a devotee always remembers death because they can become enthusiastic to leave this body and go back home, back to Godhead. So it's a whole different realm. And what is that death? That death is Krishna. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Mityasaga harasya aham. In the 11th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna makes this statement, I am death. And death is the unmanifested feature, or the impersonal aspect of the Supreme Lord, in order to bring a closure to the living entity's foolishness of trying to enjoy in this material world, and wake them up to their actual position. And so here, Yamaraj, he's a friend of the devotee, and he likes to be invited to kirtans. So whenever you have kirtan programs, we should always make a prayer to Yamaraj and invite him to come. And he can appear. You may not be able to see him, but if he wants, he can appear. Like Prabhupada would mention different times when there were ceremonies going on or kirtans going on. Prabhupada said, when Narada Muni has come. Sometimes he would say that Narada Muni has come. So the great souls, especially the demigods, they appear in an unmanifested form, sometimes, many times on this planet to take part in the devotees' practice. And sometimes they even become manifested, but that's very rare. But they do appear in different ways. In Prabhupada, they had a program for Srila Prabhupada in New York, and they were advertising it. This was in the very beginning of the movement. And the devotees had worked hard to secure this large auditorium, and at the same time publicize that this very intelligent sadhu from India, very spiritual person from India, will be giving a discourse on spiritual knowledge. And so when it came to the program, only 7 people showed up aside from the devotees. And the devotees, after a while, after the program, Prabhupada preached like there were 700 there. And at the end of the program, they said, "Oh, Srila Prabhupada, we're sorry, hardly anyone came." And Prabhupada immediately responded, "Didn't you see? Narada Muni was here." So Prabhupada could see Narada Muni had appeared. And that happened many times. And Prabhupada would say, yes, when the opening of the Krishna Balaram temple, Prabhupada also mentioned that the demigods appeared for that one too. So yeah, the demigods, they do appear. So we want to invite them because they are the friends of the devotees and they support the devotees and they also help to bring about Krishna consciousness. So he says here that with the sacrifices performed here, headed by Shanaka and others, they invited Kamaraj to attend sacrifices, Nami Sharanya. And it says that this was good for those who do not want to die. So very few people want to die. There is a class of people who are so miserable that they look forward to death and sometimes even take their own life in order to bring about some closure on their suffering. But all they do is temporarily postpone the suffering. And when they get another situation, or sometimes they don't get a situation, then they have to suffer. And in unbodied manifestation, the soul hovers in the subtle body in different places, looking for some way to enjoy, because the subtle body cannot enjoy without a gross body. And therefore, it says, and Prabhupada was just talking yesterday, I was listening, he was saying, yeah, many times, you know, there are many people are haunted by ghosts and they speak all kinds of crazy things. Although it's not that person speaking, it's the ghost speaking through that person. That ghost has taken over that living entity's body. So this is the horrors of this material world. It's just one form of suffering and calamity after another. So devotees can make progress by having kirtan. Kirtan is the way to purify the atmosphere, purify the individuals, purify everything. The holy name, when it's resounded with enthusiasm and with many devotees chanting together, the whole place becomes Vaikuntha. Because wherever Krishna appears, it says, here's one verse in the Padma Purana, it says, Krishna speaks it. He says, I am not in the hearts of the yogis, nor am I in in Vaikuntha. Where am I? I am there wherever my devotees are chanting my glories. So the presence of Krishna can be found and experienced when we devotees come together and hear and chant the glories of the Lord. We had that experience this past weekend in Sadhu Sangha. 3,000 devotees came for a 4-day program, 2 half days and 2 full days of kirtan, which was really amazing. The atmosphere was so surcharged with spiritual energy, and everyone there was experiencing great happiness. We saw that, how the energy was so strong that everybody was lifted up. So the holy name is very, very powerful. It's not only very powerful, it's Krishna himself. So therefore, devotees should make plans to chant, to dance, and to invite others to take part. And there is one statement by, I think it's on one bhajan. It says that devotees of the Lord, they come together and they chant, and then they dance, and they feel a little tired after dancing. So then they take a little bit of prasadam, and then they begin chanting again and dancing again. And they take a little more prasadam, and then again they chant and dance. And again, they feel a little tired, they take a little more, and this goes on continuously. There's no end to this performance of Harinam Sankirtan. And this is what will purify the whole world. Therefore, when we spread the glories of the holy name everywhere, the whole atmosphere becomes Vaikuntha. And even the miserable non-devotees become happy. Some of them, many of them do. So one should not fear death. One should just be ready for death. One should fear wasting time. That's a greater fear. This time is so valuable that every moment one can understand that as time goes on, my life is getting shorter. So what am I doing? Am I wasting time on material pursuits? Or am I actually using the time Krishna has given me to become fully self-realized? So a devotee doesn't want to waste any time because they know time is very, very precious. It's time with Krishna. Krishna says, time I am. And for the non-devotees, they live in the future, lament about the past, they're never happy in the present. Devotees are happy in the present, learn from the past, and look forward to the future. Okay, we'll stop there.
Thank you so much, Mark. It was such a wonderful class, and especially sharing with us the ecstasy that took place in Dallas for the Sadhu Sangha. Thank you so much. We were just, I know I was imagining, when you're describing, we chant and then we dance and we get tired, we eat, then again we chant and we dance. I was just imagining it, and it was so amazing. Thank you so much, Maharaj.
There's even t-shirts now that says sing, dance, eat, repeat.
I like that. Oh, that's a nice one, Marge.
Yeah, some devotees got together and made a t-shirt.
I like the last word, repeat.
Sing, dance, eat, repeat.
That's amazing. That's amazing. That's really nice. That's nice. Thank you, Marge. I'm going to stop sharing the screen and so that we can have each other's association. and Maharaj can see us and we can see Maharaj. And also, if you're able to show your video, please go ahead and do so. And would like to ask devotees have any questions, any clarification, question.
My video's not on?
No, yours is on, Maharaj. I'm saying if devotees can turn there also that you can see us. Yes,
Yeah,
so
I can, so far I can see, let me see, 9 out of 32. Again, the numbers are increasing.
you had to use the number to wake everybody up, Maharaj. I think when we use that, the number is like whoops. We start thinking mathematically. Thank you,
Yeah.
Maharaj. That really worked.
Yeah, we should, this is a personal movement.
Yes, Maharaj, it is. It is. Yes,
We're up
Devi.
We're up to 10 now.
That's so true, Maharaj. It's a personal movement. And whatever, I think whatever gadgets we have that's making us impersonal, we have to use it to make it personal, which is like, oh, Krishna. Yeah. Yes, Devi, please go ahead.
Thank you, Anasuya. Dear Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Today, Sri Devi, and there's dramatic performance there. Okay. All right, go ahead.
Maybe I'm not quite clear about this, and that's why I'm asking this question. How is it that simply by calling Yamaraj, calling the controller of death Yamaraj, we can get freedom from death and get eternal life?
Yeah. Death is his servant. So he sends death out. He's not death himself. He's the controller of death. Death is there. He has two servants. One is called time and the other one's called death. They both work to support his service of bringing the living entities to him who have to get the reactions of their material activities. So yeah, he's a devotee. He came in this material world as Vidura. That's a whole long story. We talked about that a few weeks ago. How he was cursed to take birth in this material world. Vidura. So he's a devotee. He likes, his job is not so nice. It's like when you're a devotee of the Lord and you have to punish people. I mean, you do it because it's required, because that service is needed. But it's not that he enjoys punishing people. He's a devotee. A devotee is very compassionate by nature. He's not a fierce personality. He's a very sweet personality. But he has his service.
So how by calling him, do we get out of the cycle of birth and death? Is it because we are also taking part in the kirtan and therefore we are getting purified and then we are not entering that process? Or how does that work? Just by calling Yamaraj?
Don't worry, it works. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
I'm trying to figure it out. He's very auspicious. So if you get the favor of Yamaraj, then everything is nice.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. My humble obeisance.
Thank you, Sridevi. Yes, Prem Kishore, go ahead with your question.
Um, Thank you, Anusaya Mataji. Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. Sorry, I'm on my way out of the house, so can't turn the camera on, but please accept my humble obeisances. Goes to Prabhupada, goes to you. Guru Maharaj, 2 days ago, the Swami Bhagwan Keshwar Swami Maharaj was giving class to Hare Krishna Africa, and I was hearing his class. It was on the same line, and he was sharing about his time with Janki Nath Prabhu. That he asked him that what goes on in the mind of a person who is facing his inevitable death, like right face to face. So I said, Janki Nath Prabhu told him, death gives priority, the things which are really, really important to take over. He said, we discussed that death gives, the concept of death or the face of death gives clarity of what I really need at this time. And the face of death also gives immunity, like, okay, I have grudge against this person or that person has this against me. It doesn't matter anymore. So you become very, very immune, what Janki Nath Prabhu mentioned to Maharaj. And also clarity, immunity, priority, and I'm forgetting one thing, but my question is, I have a twofold question. That, okay, this sounds very nice, but my question is that part one, that the death also gives this kind of a sense, at least to where I am, and I'm just a beginner, that, oh, I might be like losing my service, what I'm doing right now, and I don't know if this is going to be continuing in the same way. And second is, there is still a fear. There is still a fear. So does that mean, if there is a fear, still a fear, that is it a measure of one's caliber of bhakti, as where one is in, what stage of bhakti one is in? Nishtha is not there yet.
Well, you have to analyze that fear. What is it? Is it fear of the unknown? Where am I going? Is it fear of losing what I have now? Is it, yeah, those are the two categories generally. Is it fear of the process of dying? What is that fear? So I think devotees have a little concern that they don't fear leaving wherever they are. They're more fearful of, or a little concerned about where they're going to go. Because they have faith that Krishna is there. But they also may think, well, I wasted so much time in my life and now it's ending. And they lament that wasting of time. That happens at the time of death also. One starts to think, oh, boy, if I would have used my time better, I could have did so much more for Krishna consciousness. I could have become even more, I could have became fixed in my devotional life. In other words, they regret and what they had done, what they didn't do in the past. They wasted so much time. So that's something we can prevent right now. Don't waste time. Don't think because the conditioned soul always thinks, when Yamaraj itself was asking Yudhisthira, what is the most amazing thing in this material world? And Yudhisthira answered the question. He said, the most amazing thing is that people are seeing their friends, people who are close to them, and others die, and they're thinking, it's not going to happen to me. We all think like that. It's not going to happen. But whoever has a material body has to give it up at some time. We call that death. For devotee, we call it change of body. For pure devotee, we call that perfection of life. So yeah, that fear generally is the fear of the unknown. But if you have faith in Krishna, then Krishna will take care of me. And why should I fear? There was one very wonderful Prabhupada disciple. She was leaving the body. And she was saying at the end, Krishna loves me. That's all I care. Krishna loves me. He could understand, yeah, Krishna loves, and Krishna does love everyone. And if you understand the principle of love, you understand that if God loves you, he's always doing the best thing for you. So with that in mind, then death is not a fearful situation.
Thank you, Maharaj. So nice.
We want to stay in this material world as long as we can so we can preach Krishna consciousness. We don't want to stay here so we can, eat pizza, or, go to parties. We're not, it's not that we want to stay here to do anything in this material world. We want to stay here so we can perfect our life and ultimately try to capture a few conditioned souls out there and bring them back in.
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for the nice question, Prem Kishori. Nice question. And if others would like to ask a question, please do raise your hand. You can just jump right in, or I can call upon you. I'm going down the list so that I don't miss anyone. Yes, Silpesh Prabhu, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Maharaj, if we're not well, can we chant with our beads lying down? Is that permitted?
Well, if you're relegated to that position and there's no alternative, yeah, but generally we try to sit in the proper way because that enhances concentration. When the spine is erect, concentration is more what's the word? More accessible. That's why Prabhupada, you listen to the Japa tape, Prabhupada would say, sit properly. So, yeah, but if you're sick and you can't sit up, try anyway. Because if you lay down, you might fall asleep. Tendency of falling asleep is there.
I was just thinking if in the process of death, we're probably lying down anyway. So I guess we have to practice for that as well to be able to remember Krishna at that moment.
No, that's one thing you don't have to practice.
Sorry, Maharaj?
No, you don't have to practice lying down. Don't worry. It'll happen automatically.
Okay, thank you.
You don't have to practice. We can practice doing dandavats. Good. That kind of lying down is good. That means head down, not head up.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you very much for this wonderful lecture. And thank you for reminding me that I do not have to bother because Krishna is here. He will care. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mother Tirtha. Just hearing you saying that is helping me to remember that the Lord loves us. Thank you so much.
That's a
Thank you.
powerful statement when you think about it. Very powerful.
Thank you, Marge. Yes, Scholar Prabhu, please go ahead with your question.
Krishna, and thank you for a wonderful class. I read all the Srimad Bhagavatam and everything, and in that reading, I might misunderstood, but I have read about the situation where Yamaraj was harsh in his judgment, and that's why he came like as a Vidura, because he got cursed, because he was harsh what he'd have done. And I read so many times curses which happens all the time, or had happened all the time, and it makes me somewhat weary to ask my question, to see to understand the situation by my asking question, and it makes me be somewhat afraid to do it, because there is also the name of offense, aparada, and all other things. I am not born in Hindu religion. I was born in a Muslim family, and I learned about Krishna consciousness very, very long, very late in my life. And I understand it, I respect it, and I really, really, really want to follow the principle, but there are some things that I don't understand, and I have to ask questions, and I'm afraid to do it because it might be offense, it might be aparada. So how to do it not to get cursed because of that, or get judged because of that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Just practice humility. If you're humble, you won't make it. You'll never get cursed, and you'll never make mistakes. We practice humility. When we ask questions, we should not have a preconceived answer with the question. That makes the question somewhat, it brings in the false ego. When we're asking questions, we should be ready to hear the answers. Otherwise, what's the use of asking questions if we're not ready to accept the answers? So yeah, we practice humility. Means I'm trying to understand something, so I'm questioning based on that. Not that I'm trying to put forward my ideas in the form of a question. That's why we say, are there any comments or questions? We don't say just questions or just comments. So we allow for comments. That means what I understand from the lecture, or what I understand from the reading, that's comments. Questions are like, well, I read this and it's not clear, therefore give me the understanding. So if we're humble, it becomes natural to ask questions. Yeah, humble means you just want to learn, that's all. We shouldn't be afraid to ask questions.
I hope that helped, Mother Scarlett. She just, okay. Thank you for that. Yes, okay. Thank you, Maharaj. Any questions from devotees, any comments, anything that you would like to ask or share? Maharaj, I have a question, and you mentioned in your class three forms of the Lord. Three, I'm trying to think how you put it. You mentioned the Paramatma within the soul, Yamaraj, and the third person, I think, Maharaj, you mentioned is Lord Shiva.
Yeah, Shiva's called the father of all living entities.
Marge, I'm trying to understand how does that play in the three. I'm trying to understand Lord Shiva's role.
Well, he's as good as the super soul because in the sense that when creation comes, the unmanifested material energy is in the form of what is called pradhan. That is, all of the ingredients that make up the creation are in an aggregate state. And then in order to initiate the next creation, Mahavishnu glances in the direction of Pradhan. And that glance contains three elements. One is that glance is Shiva. The glance itself is Sada Shiva. That's why we say that Advaita Charya is a manifestation or a combination of Sada Shiva and Mahavishnu in one. So that glance is Shiva. Also within the glance are the living entities. And so when the Lord glances, he projects all the living entities along with that power of glance, which is Shiva. Shiva Shakti, his consort, Parvati, Uma, Sati, she is the personification of the material energy. And Shiva is the father of that same material energy. Together they make up the aggregate of the all material activities. And Shiva's in charge of the mode of ignorance also, because the mode of ignorance is the first manifestation of the living entity's existence in the material world, where the false ego appears, and that's represented by Lord Shiva. So these are the details. If you read on the mostly it's in the Brahman Samhita mostly, but you can also get ideas from or some understanding from Srimad Bhagavatam in the second canto and parts of the third canto.
Thank you, Marge. Second canto and third canto. Okay.
So the answer is Shiva is that glance that comes by Mahavishnu's glance.
Okay.
And that glance is carried by Ramadevi. It's not that the glance goes directly. It does, but at the same time, it's supported by Ramadevi, who is the manifestation of the female aspect. And she moves that glance towards her. So we see both the feminine and masculine aspects of of existence are there in the creation. Just like when we create in this material world, it takes both man and woman together to bring about life. So in the same way, that's the same principle is there in the unfolding of the creation. That's Shiva Shakti.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you. I'll definitely refer to second and third canto you said.
Also,
Okay.
yeah, Brahma Samhita is more clear, more detailed.
Okay. Brahma Samiti. Thank you, Maharaj.
The beginning
Yes,
of
Maharaj. I'm sorry.
it's
You said the beginning, Maharaj?
Yeah, it's not. It's the verses that come at the very before we get into verse number 29. Before that,
Of Brahma Samhita. Okay.
yeah.
Thank you, Maharaj. We'll definitely look into that. Yes, Mother Scarlet, go ahead.
Yes. what about when someone curse somebody because this person has done something unknowingly, didn't know that the thing he or she did was wrong, but still got cursed, and that curse still came true. So can I please beg you to help me to understand?
Yeah.
What about when you don't know that you did?
Yeah, but the thing is, who goes around cursing people? I don't see devotees going around cursing anybody. That doesn't happen. It's a rare situation if that ever happens. And then who's powerful enough to make a curse that actually comes true? It's like,
It's
yeah.
what I mean is because I read it somewhere, so I want to understand how it's applied when this person or this entity didn't know it, did something without thinking about it, without any bad thought, did it
Well,
because
you have,
this person told that to do.
give me an example in the Bhagavatam. So you go, well, we can say that the Rasa Muni, he cursed Maharaj Ambarish. But Maharaj Ambarish was a pure devotee and he took shelter of Krishna. And therefore, the curse didn't have an effect. Krishna saved him from the reactions of that curse. Prahlad Maharaj was harassed by his father, but he was protected by Krishna. But there are examples in the scriptures, but these things are, the scriptures pull together different incidents that have happened throughout millenniums, not just when you're reading the Bhagavatam, you're not reading something that is contemporary. It's happened sometimes, millions of years ago. But how many times in the Bhagavatam do we read somebody being cursed? It happens, yeah. But have you been cursed? Somebody's cursed you?
I don't know.
I don't think so.
That I'm going and wondering about things, what happens in my life as a child, and so on and so on and so on. I wonder. I don't know because for me, I have a difficulty to understand how a child can get some karma. The child is a child. How do a child should understand the karma? That's why I wonder. Maybe it has to do with the curse and not karma. Maybe I don't know. I'm just wondering.
Yeah, this cursing thing is not a regular thing. Don't make that if sometimes someone has becomes angry with someone or has a bad feeling towards someone, that doesn't mean it's a curse. A curse, it has to be done with proper rituals in order for it to work. Sukacharya cursed Bali Maharaj because he didn't listen to him to lose everything. When the curse came true, he lost everything. But Sukacharya knew he was going to lose it anyway, but he cursed him in that way. So there are curses, but they come from usually very powerful personalities. It's like,
Thank you.
If,
Thank you.
if a lesser devotee tries to curse a more advanced devotee, that's not going to work. I curse you. Who cares? not a thing that goes on all the time. Well, I was thinking of when devotees came to Prabhupada and said, this is the opposite. Where devotees were in India, and it was the beginning of the Krishna consciousness in India with Prabhupada. And some of the Indian people, they were coming up to the devotees and saying, oh, we bless you, in your next life you'll become a Brahmana. When Prabhupada heard that, he laughed. He said, it's like a crow trying to give a blessing to a cow. So the same thing is, if a crow tries to curse a cow, it doesn't make any difference for the cow. But if your spiritual master curses you, then you're in trouble. Or if a powerful person who has a lot of Shakti, like we find Gurdavasa Muni, he sends out curses quite often. He's powerful. He's an energy of Lord Shiva.
Thank you, Marge. Any other questions from devotees that's lingering in your mind you would like to ask, get clarified? Anything that's coming, please do raise your hand. Before I miss anyone, I'm just going down the list here before I miss anyone. If there isn't, Marge, would you like to end with one round of chanting, or do you have something planned this morning?
Yeah, both questions are yes.
Uh-oh. I'm always asking the wrong question, Marge. I'm so sorry, Marge.
You
I feel
asked
like I put you in a dilemma.
You asked two questions, and the answer was yes to both of them. Yes, I would like to chant japa, and yes, I do have things to do.
I feel like I'm always putting in a dilemma, Marge. I feel so bad.
No, don't worry. I won't curse you. Don't worry.
Hare Krishna.
Probably
Marge,
worse.
your curse, Marge, it will be a blessing anyway. I know that. So it's mercy and blessings.
There's a story where it's not in the Bhagavatam, but it's in the Hari Bhakti Sudodaya. It's about the life of Prahlad Maharaj. At one point, this is not mentioned in the Bhagavatam, that Hiranyakashipu got his Brahmins, these were tantric Brahmins, to throw curses at Prahlad Maharaj. And so they gathered around him and they start chanting all of these mantras that were curses. But because he was completely fixed on Krishna, the curses went back towards the Brahmins, and the Brahmins were suffering.
Whoa.
So if someone who is not qualified to curses, that curse has to go somewhere. And if usually it comes back to the person who gives it. Narada Muni cursed, what was it? Nalaguvera Manigriva, trees. But he modified the curse. And he made it where they could take birth as trees in the courtyard of Nanda Maharaj and be freed by Krishna. Because they realized their mistake and they asked for forgiveness. But once a curse is given, it cannot be withdrawn. The reaction has to go somewhere. But it can be modified by the person who gives it. I was cursed never to eat strawberries.
Oh no.
Yeah. But then later on, I was told by a very senior devotee that the curse has no effect because the person who cursed me left Krishna consciousness.
Haribol. So you can eat strawberries, Maharaj.
So I can eat, now I can, that's a long story how that happens.
Hare Krishna.
So sometimes I honor the curse when I don't want any strawberries.
Time, place, circumstance, Maharaj.
All right, I'll be back.
All right, Maharaj.
Okay. So everyone, sit up straight. That's important. And we begin by invoking the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead by chanting the Panchatattva mantra. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Krishna 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Rama Krishna Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare. Hare Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Krishna Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Krishna Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. No.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna.
Krishna Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare
Krishna Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Hare Rama, Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna.
Krishna Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare
Krishna Krishna. Krishna Krishna.
Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna.
Hare
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 Krishna.
Rama, Hare Rama, Krishna. Hare
Hare
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhar, Sri Vasudev, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Marsh, for the wonderful class and also giving us your time. And thank you to all the devotees for joining us. Vanchakapti
Thank you.
Vyascha Pasindobeva Chapati Tanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Srila Prabhupada ki jai. He's calling us Candramauli Swami ki.
Jai. Gurudev ki jai. Gurudev
Jai.
ki jai.
All glories to the devotees. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai. Thank you so much, Maharaj.
Thank you so much, Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Anusuya. Hare Krishna. Thank
Hare
you,
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, dear
Hare
devotees.
Krishna.